Welcome to the Fundamentals of Sponsored Project Administration at CSU series. This hour we are featuring Introduction to Sponsored Projects, Sponsored Programs. What is it? Throughout the month, we'll have things like budgets, proposals, stuff that happens at award, trying to figure out all those things, governing regulations. So we hope you join us throughout the month. I am Catherine O'Hare. I am a Training and Information Coordinator at the Office of Sponsored Programs, and today I will be your moderator for this session. Please note today's session is being recorded, and we'll have it on our website as a resource for later years. This presentation lasts about 90 minutes. It might end earlier. We're hoping to have a good discussion and open it up to you all. All participants are currently muted, I believe. But during the presentation, there will be interactive moments, and we invite you to unmute if you would like to, or you can use the chat. Yeah, engage and have video on as you feel comfortable. If we don't have breakout sessions, for instance, in this session, but in other sessions we may. And so utilizing video will really help with that collaboration aspect. We also made an interactive worksheet, as I mentioned, for each session that you can find on the OSP training website in the fundamentals page. If you have questions or comments, please use the chat feature or raise your hand in Teams. I'll be monitoring the chat and let Dwayne and Ashley know if anything pops up. Please use closed captioning available in the team settings.
Wait, but I am really curious who else was in Texas, because that's where
because
somebody was
Ashley's
like
one of our Texas
to
people.
me. I know we've got oh my goodness. I know we have someone in OSP that is in Texas. I don't know if they're on the call, but somebody looked like they were real close to the Houston, Dallas area. Okay, nice. Jacqueline Miles, awesome.
Oh, yeah, Jackie.
I am in the Houston area. I'm northwest of Houston, so. Is this me, Kat?
Go ahead, Ashley. You want to say anything?
All right, yeah. So today we're going to be doing introductions to sponsored programs at CSU. As Kat mentioned, this is going to provide a broad overview in sponsored projects administration throughout the life cycle of an award. There will be different sessions throughout February that our amazing training team, Kat and Shannon, have put together that will focus on things like CSU systems, practices, policies, and infrastructure to support sponsored projects administration here on campus. All right. So for those, I'm Ashley Staley. I'm the Associate Director of the Office of Sponsored Projects at CSU. And Dwayne is joining today, co-presenting. Dwayne?
Dwayne Watson. I'm the Physical and Program Officer in Sponsored Programs. And before working at OSP, I worked about 17 years in research.
Awesome. All right. Well, I wish we had time for introductions with everybody on the call, but with 70 of you, that's awesome. I don't know that we will, but would love to get some more annotating happening. So Kat, you want to take that over?
Activated. Oh, good. Someone is able to stamp it. We have some of our colleges up here from CSU Fort Collins, but also our Pueblo ones, because we have Pueblo people joining us. We want to know, yeah, what units are joining us today, what kind, so we can think about the type of things you all see.
I love it. Engineering's like, we've got some others over here. It looked like it was pointing down.
Oh yeah, so you can use the pen, you can use the stamper. Lots of engineering, lots of vet med. Other supports is probably our, nope, OSP's up there. Ooh, so I want to know what the other supports are. If we have people from compliance areas or, well, VPR was up there. Yeah, we had to use some broader titles since we're bringing together both of our campuses for this training. We've recently revamped our cycle of award mindset. So we had these 5 general tiles that we have on our website to go into different resources, but we're thinking about how all of these feed into each other, how they support each other and work together. So we'd like to know, where are you? Where do you touch pieces of the life cycle? So can you stamp on if you're in the pre-award stages of development and review, or are you in post-award with the administration aspects, financial, programmatic? Are you doing setup? Oh yeah. So half the circle. I like the fire I was trying to figure out how do we use the fire emoji more in these presentations. Okay, so does that give you guys an idea of your audience and who you have today? Do you have any other questions for them?
Oh, okay. Well, the next slide is, what is a sponsored project? So we would like to welcome you guys to put in the chat how you would define a sponsored project, or you can unmute and put it out there. People can thumbs up it or whatever, do some reactions. All right, so we've got research projects funded by external sponsors, funded from sources outside of CSU. All right. Any others? Those are great answers. Funding from external sources. Funding to complete a proposed scope of work. Awesome. These are great answers. So I believe this is on our website. So what we define sponsored project as is a sponsored project is an activity that is funded wholly or in part by an organization external to the university, such as a federal, state, or public-private organization. So very good. Y'all are spot on for those of you. And if you're following along in your worksheet that was provided, there might be a spot to put this in. All right, so what are the typical characteristics of a sponsored project? Typically, we'll look for things like, is there a scope of work that is an expectation, not a, hey, we want you to take this money and do great things. No, we want you to take this money and these are the things that we're asking that be involved in that and how those funds are utilized. Is there a period of performance? Are there reporting requirements, either technical or financial? Are funds restricted to a sponsored activity? These are all types of things that we would look for that would typically be characteristics of a sponsored project. The Office of Sponsored Programs and Foundation Advancement works together in these determinations if something is sort of on the line and not quite sure. So we work closely with them on those ones that are a little unclear. So if you are unsure, feel free to reach out to your sponsored projects team in OSP. So types of sponsored activities, and this is also on your notebook. So what types of activities do you all feel fall outside of research or instruction? So what would be other sponsored activities? So I think we have a fairly easy job, identifying what research activities are, experimentation, investigating, that sort of thing, instructional activities. But what are the things that are outside of the sponsored activities? Community-facing programs, humanities work, like writing a chapter in a book. Any other ideas? Oh, there we go. This is workforce development grants. Absolutely. These are all great ideas. Conferences, music, theater performances, service projects, art exhibits. Why does the project type matter? So we've got a few coming in of the F&A rates with some thumbs ups on that. So absolutely. Associated sponsored activities under sponsored programs and our federally negotiated indirect cost rate varies by what type of project type is being performed. Okay. I'm sure many of you are quite familiar with this. There is a session later in the month that is talking all about indirect cost during the budget session. I forget what date that is on, but I know there's a slide here that has it all listed out. What is a sponsored project? Let's do a little activity. I want everybody to look at these and decide if it's a sponsored project or not. Dr. Corbett is awarded $1.5 million from the Betcher Foundation to fund her research to develop a vaccine. Would this be considered a sponsored project and run through a 5-3?
So you can use your reactions in Teams. Yeah, you can use chat. So we have thumbs up, hearts, claps, or you can laugh at it if you're like, no, that's not it.
Does anybody want to unmute and say why it would be considered a sponsored project? Deliverables. Nobody wants to talk today. It's okay. I will accept the chat. external research, funding from a sponsor for a specific purpose with deliverables. So
we have our
Shannon,
first It Depends.
I know. All right, Shannon, do you want to elaborate?
Sure. I was going to say, I think it depends because it depends on how the money is being given. Is it given as a gift or donation for her to do this? And is there a period of performance and expected deliverables? Or is it more like a grant where there's a period of performance and expected deliverables?
Okay.
You want to try situation 2?
Yes, let's do that. So how does this change it up? So Dr. Corbett is provided a $1.5 million gift from the Betcher Foundation to fund her research to develop a vaccine. Is this a sponsored project? A lot of discussion on this one. All right, so we've got, are there strings attached? Depends on whether there's an agreement and strings attached. Not unless the foundation is using the term gift to describe their funding mechanism when there are really deliverables and IP rights. These are all really, really wonderful and thoughtful answers. She can use it for research, but it's a gift to the university with no deliverables and probably no IEC. It's a smart group. Yeah, so I mean, it says that it's a gift, right? But it's saying not go do great things. They want her to do a specific thing. So maybe we would need some more information on what the terms and conditions are for this one. But these are everybody putting in the chat, these are exactly the questions that you would need to ask and be digging into and finding out more information to really make an appropriate determination. All right, so Dr. Corbett is provided $1.5 million in startup funds to fund her research to develop a vaccine. Is this the sponsored project? Startup funds come from the university, so they're not, is it 16 funds, Dwayne?
It could be 16, it could be 13, it could be some others.
Hey, no, so long as the startup is from the university. Very good. Awesome, awesome. Yeah, so gifts are handled by university advancement. If the terms of a gift include deliverables like technical reports, financial reports, then it may be a sponsored project. Again, we worked with advancement to make those determinations. Gift accounts start with a 6-4. Startup funds are handled by the college and or department along with the OVPR office in the form of either a 13, 16, or 6-4 accounts. They're intended to advance recruitment of faculty so they can start a new or transfer a research program to CSU. All right, we'll move on to a little bit about why sponsored programs. So we have had a significant increase in the last 10 years. 62% in our research expenditures have increased. I'll just read a blip from the source article. The conduct of a sponsored project and associated funding have myriad regulations from the program, the sponsor, the state, and CSU. We must be compliant with all the regulations on appropriate spending, appropriate use of humans, animals, and research, conflict of interest, and much more, as you all know. With almost $500 million in research expenditures, it really does take all of us to ensure success of these projects and securing and maintaining funding for sponsored projects here at CSU. Oversight for sponsored projects is called research administration, also known as sponsored projects administration. Gosh, there's lots of different, what are some other, we have so many acronyms and so many different names for offices: Office of Research Administration, Office of Sponsored Programs, Office of Research and Sponsored Activity. I mean, you hear so many different acronyms and ways that people have said it at different universities. But here at CSU, research administrators are found in laboratories, departments, colleges, and central offices like the Office of the Vice President for Research and the Office of Sponsored Programs. While job titles may not include the words research or administrator, anyone who assists in the development, submission, review, execution, or management of a sponsored project is a research administrator. So for those of you who are doing any of that and didn't identify as a research administrator, you have a whole group of people now that you can lean on, and also vent with, maybe, on the challenges of research administration. Offices of Grants and Contracts. Thank you. That was the one that I was blanking on. I appreciate it. All right. So I forget why we put this one in here, and I have a different slide deck. Kat, I don't have the latest, apparently.
You guys just went meme crazy and you were like, research administration is funny. And we decided this would be our transition now.
This is our transition.
You have sponsored projects, but you need people to run those sponsored projects.
All right, well, let's dive into the crazy then. So who are the crazies that are in this profession of research administration? Well, here at CSU, this was taken from our recent ram around. That was our hybrid ram around. Look at this amazing team. I love the fact that Kat worked on this to put everybody in this hybrid, culture that we're in now. So why don't we list off some titles of people from the last slide? We talked about, if you're doing any of this, then you're a research administrator, and it doesn't necessarily mean that your title's in it. So why don't we list off some titles, those on the call, that are in research administrator, that do research administration, but that may not be what your title is, or it might be. Like, I'm sure there's some fiscal officers on the call. Okay, accounting tech, program coordinator, awesome. Research project managers, grants and special funds manager. Sorry. All right. I like it. We've got training grants coordinator, business manager, pre-award grant specialist. So there is just such a variety of titles. This has been across, research administration as a whole. We have a challenge of sorting, even doing any sort of comparisons to other institutions, because titles don't match up for necessarily what the job description is for that. And you've got a lot of people who say, like, how did you end up in research administration? And they're like, I was in accounting tech. I thought I was going to be doing accounting stuff. That was me. Like, I went and took an accountant position and thought I was going to be doing accounting after earning my accounting degree. Right. So like, there's lots of things out there that you're doing research administration, but it may not say it in your title. So glad to have all of you here.
All right. So now we would like you to navigate to the Office of Vice President for Research, OVPR. Kat's put a link in the chat. And so take a second, everybody get there, and then we have a little activity. Yeah, you can give us a reaction if you've made it. All right, we're getting some reactions. So what are some units that are housed in the Vice President for Research's office, or OVPR?
Can you see your chat, or do you want me to read them?
OSP, Research Analytics, Biosafety, Lab Animal Resources, RICRO, IRB.
Okay, I just love Vanessa's response. She's just like, here, this is all of them.
Yeah, RICRO is now Research Integrity, Safety, and Compliance. Risk.
And the IACUC is now under the ORC group.
Okay. Office of Research, Collaboration, and Compliance.
Yes.
You want to keep moving, Dwayne?
Yeah, let's keep moving. So because there are many units who support sponsored projects, it's important to understand the various roles and responsibilities in the life cycle of a project. So now we'd like you to navigate to the OSP website. If you're on the main VPR website, there's a link down at the bottom, or Kat's going to drop a link in the chat. And when you get to the OSP website, go down to the middle of the website and click on the award lifecycle tabs and click on proposal and review submission. And then select proposal review and submission responsibility matrix on the right. All right. Give me some thumbs up if you've made it to the responsibility matrix. Great. So which unit is responsible for providing try again. Which unit is responsible for providing institutional review and approval of proposals and budgets? Correct. Primarily OSP with assistance from units and colleges. So who is responsible for identifying export control, international travel, and classified information issues? Yeah, I thought this one was kind of tricky. So the primary person is the PI, but they work in collaboration with Secure and Global Research, SGR.
That was just one example of one of our matrix on the website, matrices. We'll go through more of them in future sessions.
So at CSU, proposal development is on the onus of the PI. Some units may provide assistance with boilerplate template information or with budget development. The Research Acceleration Office, REO, website provides links to information about best practices for proposal development, limited submissions, and REO and University Advancement Team provide grant writing workshops, usually at the beginning of the semester around specific programs like NSF Early Career Program, for example. But first, how do you find funding and where and who can apply? So these are going to be some of your notes for your worksheet. So first of all, where do we find funding? Assisting faculty with finding funding is largely decentralized at CSU. Some units may provide assistance and other not. One place is the University Advancement Foundation sends out a monthly list of external opportunities from private foundations. The REO office also assists career investigators to find opportunities suited to their project needs. And another one, REO maintains a subscription to the Sponsored Program Information Network, or the SPIN database. SPIN is a searchable funding opportunity database that provides detailed, up-to-date information about thousands of federal and non-federal programs that support research and really any kind of sponsored activity. In addition to SPIN, REO has links to grant.gov and other places where investigators can go and search for funding opportunities. Grants.gov is an online site where you can find and apply for federal opportunities. You can see at the top where you can search for federal funding, and there's menus that provide information on grant writing, searching for grants, applying for federal grants through the grant.gov portal, standard grants form, and information on the site. So another thing for your worksheet, who can serve as a PI? It, of course, depends. Could be the sponsor. It depends on who the sponsor is, the funding mechanism, and CSU. As far as CSU guidance, any permanent employee can be a PI, and the information is located on the OSP guidance page. Awards are made to the institution and come with technical, physical, and regulatory requirements. Sponsor programs and related operations or under the OVPR exist to assure compliance with these requirements. So if PI decides to seek external funding, they're eligible to be a PI and they found a opportunity and they would like to apply for it. So what comes next? Of course, quality proposal development, or KRPD, is a tool we use at CSU to prepare proposals and budgets for reviewing information, routing it, the proposal, and for review and approval. All proposals need to be reviewed and routed through KRPD before being submitted to the sponsor. For this to happen, sufficient times needs to be allowed for review of the proposal elements. CSU has established a review schedule and can be found on our website under guidance. It's important to remember that only some personnel in OSP and a few outside of OSP have authority to sign off on proposals as authorized organizational representatives, or OAR. So the submission may happen by the PI or by the unit or by OSP, but first OSP needs to review and approve the proposal. So what kind of things does OSP do? We ensure that the proposals submitted meet CSU sponsor requirements. We verify proposal budget aligns with sponsor requirements and CSU cost accounting standards. We review the agreements in front of the acceptable and favorable terms and conditions for the PI and the institution. And we confirm that the subrecipient documents are in place to streamline the subrecipient process.
All right. Thank you, Dwayne. So what happens after that? Hopefully, right? You get an award after all that work. Unfortunately, it's not what happens majority of the time, but when it comes in, we're all very excited and there's a lot of work to be done. So in most instances, sponsoring agencies issue the award agreement to the sponsored programs office. So at CSU, the Office of Sponsored Programs is the one that has the authority to enter into agreements on behalf of the institution. That is through the delegated signature authority from the university. If an agreement is sent to a unit or an investigator, it should be forwarded to the Office of Sponsored Programs for review, negotiation, and signature. Only the Office of Sponsored Programs, the Vice President for Research, and approved executive staff can sign on behalf of CSU. Award agreements contain project-specific information, such as sponsor and project-specific terms and conditions. Sponsor award documents will vary in terms of information included in the notice of award. Some awards address just a litany of different things, while other awards will not address enough where we actually need to go in and say, okay, well, in the case of this, what? So there can be a very large range of negotiations that happens during that time in sponsor programs, to no negotiations at all. It's an RO1, comes through, there's nothing to negotiate, or it's a federal one that requires a lot, or a corporate that they've got their lawyers involved and they don't understand higher ed. So, I mean, it just can really range on that part of it. Let's see. So once issued, the sponsor program's pre-award staff review the award and agreement, and we work collaboratively with the sponsor, the investigator, and the unit administrative staff to comply with those terms and accept the award. The final stage of the pre-award process is award setup. Once award terms and conditions have been reviewed and accepted, OSP pre-award and post-award staff work together to set up sponsored awards in the CSU award system, Quality Award, and to create the project account in the financial system, KFS, Quality Financial System. So we have an entire session that gets into the details of account setup. Encourage y'all to attend. In sponsor programs, the senior research administrator negotiates the award and sends the award information to a sponsored project's accounting tech to set up the award and KR award. Just like for proposals, there are individuals in sponsored projects that are authorized to sign and accept awards on behalf of CSU. Once we receive an award notice that authorizes us to spend in accordance with the agreement terms and conditions, as most awards to the university are cost reimbursable. Some non-federal sponsors may send a check as an award notice. All checks and award notices should be forwarded to sponsored programs. We have had some cases where it got deposited and lost, and it was interesting to unravel. So if you're not sure, definitely reach out to us. All right, so we have resources on our website. So we're going to ask you again to navigate to the OSP website and then to forms. And I'd like you all to answer either unmute or in the chat. I'm going to guess y'all are going to go for the chat since nobody's unmuted yet. But tell me, which form is needed if an investigator wants to waive or reduce indirect cost? All right.
Believe it's
Andrew.
request to waive indirect cost.
There you go. Thank you. Okay, but you're all wrong. The answer is there is no form. Don't ever do it. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Okay, you're absolutely right. It is right there on the forms page. Request to waive indirects. I'm not kidding in the event that it is a corporate sponsor, though. If they are for profit, do not request an indirect waiver. It will not be approved. So, and we have it on the form. It tells you it when it's appropriate to use a waiver, when it's not. So, all right. So, which form would you use to utilize pre-award spending authority? At risk. Perfect. Awesome, awesome. So we use the at-risk spending account for a couple of different things. That's both to kick off and get a 5-3 started, as well as get continuation spending into the next funding period on those multi-year awards. Good job. All right, so project management. Whew, this is the big part, right? And relies so very much on our department research administrators and all of the other titles that showed up in the chat earlier. So successful compliance sponsored project management at CSU is very much a shared responsibility between the investigators, the unit administrators, such as research program managers and fiscal officers, and various units under the Office of the Vice President for Research, certainly including the Office of Sponsored Programs. Investigators are responsible for ensuring technical and regulatory requirements are met, things like submitting the technical report, maintaining compliance with human, animal, biosafety, export controls, the conflict of interest. They are responsible for a good bit. We do have roles and responsibilities out there on our website that indicates primary and then secondary or support responsibilities. So, well, the Office of Sponsored Programs often submits the financial reports. Investigators, unit administrators, and OSP are responsible for ensuring the fiscal requirements are met. So again, very much a shared responsibility. All right, so here is a nice little visual of the overview of project management. So the PI starts working on their project. Yay. They probably have already started, but before the award. But the PI makes a spending plan with their department research administrator. Those expenses are inputted into KFS or salaries are put into the HR system. Let's see, then OSP reviews expenses and issues invoices. Invoices are not always necessary, so sometimes payments are, or we don't have to, and they just are sending us payments, and that's great. But payments are received at the cashier's office, and then we are tracked, and we track it over in OSP. So when the project is finished for the award end date, the file must be closed. And so OSP closes the project in our database. We keep the files for 6 years based on our retention policy or more, depending on if it's needed. So it is really that, all the way to close out when we say cradle to grave. All right, so what are some of the project management tools that are available to us? We have eCert, which is our ever certification system. Quality Research Administration, so that includes quality research, which includes proposal development, negotiations, awards, which is where we set up the 5-3s and lots of different things within quality research. Then, of course, quality financial systems, view budget tool, conflict of interest, status report. We have RPS. I know a lot of us in OSP use RPS, and a lot of folks on campus use Symphony. So these are just some of the project management tools that are available. Am I going way too fast, Kat? I feel like I'm going way too fast. Am I?
I don't know. We could do a check-in. How are people?
I know. I'm like, oh my goodness, we're like only halfway through the time frame, and I'm almost through the slides. So, are there any questions so far?
A good stretch break. I don't know. We don't do a lot of hour-and-a-half sessions, so
a pause
move
for
your body.
acronyms. I love it. Have I been using acronyms? I'm so sorry.
We have a
Awesome.
list on the worksheet too.
Where
This
is it?
is-
Oh, there it is. Okay, acronym check-in. All right. I was looking for it. Okay, so I've said the full one for the first one, the FO. I'm going to let the audience answer these. 3 out of the 6. All right, Ronnie, we're going to get you all the way there. Okay, so FO, thank you. Fiscal officer, awesome. I probably have said RA multiple times.
I can go, RPM is where I break.
Awesome. Yes, research administrator, and then DRA. Thank you. There we go. Department Research Administrator. I've seen this one a couple of different ways too on the acronym. So I've seen it both, all caps like we have it here, but I've also seen it like this with the lowercase d RA. I'm not sure why, but I've seen different things. What's the difference? Great question. What's the difference between a fiscal officer and a research project manager? So can I ask, is there a unit out there that has both fiscal officers and RPMs? Is anybody titled a fiscal officer? I know we have fiscal officer in like the, KFS system and stuff, but like, I know somebody might be listed as fiscal officer, but their title is research project manager. Am I wrong on that? Come on, campus folks, help me out.
I see fiscal officer on the awarding contacts because I look up contacts to send emails out often, but I don't know what the difference is there.
So I think fiscal officer kind of encompasses a lot of, even what we're saying, like on the research administrator, like it encompasses a lot of different titles that go with it. So fiscal officer often is a research project manager. What are other titles that folks have where they're also listed as a fiscal officer here at CSU? All right, well, we'll see if any other ones come in. So, oh, Bridget, why are you typing so much? You don't have a problem talking.
Well, not usually, but I feel like typing today.
And here I am just putting her on the spot. She's like, dang, Ashley, I'm just having an off day. Leave me alone.
Okay.
No, all right. So Bridget says, I don't know about CSU, but her previous institution, a fiscal officer position, was in charge of finance in general, including sponsored programs. An RPM position might be in charge of a subset of accounts, handling purchasing and other day-to-day stuff. And we've got a couple of check marks on that, or thumbs up on that. Awesome. All right. So AOR. Thank you. And who has AOR authority at CSU? Very good. Senior research administrators. That's in sponsor projects, in the Office of Sponsored Programs. Yes. So Liza's got our research administrators and our senior research administrators. All right. And then RAO. Awesome. Thank you. Yes, the Research Acceleration Office.
You did it.
All right.
Okay.
Well, great. Thank you. That was an awesome suggestion for a little breakup.
Yeah. Don't add more acronyms to the chat, Ronnie.
I just felt like being funny there.
Yeah.
Oh. All right. So once an account is established, OSP assists with the project management, including review and processing of requests for no-cost extensions. And that process can vary depending on the sponsor. We are involved with the budget, personnel, and project modifications. Reduction in effort would be a personnel modification. A reduction in the scope of work might be a project modification. We're involved in, we would be the ones to be reaching out to the sponsor to request those no-cost extensions, those project modifications, any requests for carryover funds. So we don't have automatic carry forward on all of our awards. Many will require that you ask, and some will even go so far as to say, well, what do you need it for and how are you going to use it? So depending on the sponsor, how that request looks like can vary. We also are involved in monitoring of the expenditures to make sure that they are adhering to both the sponsor guidelines, federal guidelines, and if the federal guidelines are required, and institutional guidelines. And again, we are that primary person. We are the ones that would be communicating with the sponsor on project and fiscal matters. So all of those will also be talked about a little bit more in the awards management session. All right, so.
Ashley, we got a question.
Oh, thank you.
Do the PIs have authority to work directly with the sponsor?
They absolutely will be talking with, a counterpart over about the science, right? I mean, that's going to be happening, but our PI should not be, I mean, they don't have the authority to negotiate or sign the agreements or anything like that. They can talk with the sponsor. They shouldn't be committing to any budgets, right? Because budgets come through, need to be reviewed and see, are we assessing the right F&A rate to it and adhering to all these guidelines, everything that the department research administrators and sponsor programs do to add value in supporting the research here at CSU. So yes, they can work directly with them, but really not on the business matters. It should only be on the science technical side. We have the support from our associate deans of research that we sort of bridges that between administration and pursuing the science. So if some guide rails are some reminding or something like that, that would usually be something that we would go to our associate deans for research and say, hey, how can we collaborate and work together to maybe message this out a bit more, and getting our faculty to not be talking budgets and terms and conditions with our sponsors. Great question. All right, so let's see. Obviously, sponsor projects administration, it really does take a ton of people. I mean, we have 74 people on this call today. I know our RAM around meetings each month, we are usually 90 plus on that. It really does take so many of us to support the research here at CSU. And we truly do value the partnership between our campus colleagues and sponsor programs. And I know that our PIs do appreciate the support that we provide them to. It can be a very stressful field and profession, but I think that it takes a special kind of person to work in this profession, and I think all of you are special for being here. So I just want to say thank you for attending. And if I could ask for participants to add one thing that they learned from today, or we can also add questions to the chat or open it up.
I have a pop quiz in a second.
Awesome. Chrissy said she learned about new website material. It's great. Well, I know that many of you have worked. I know Ronnie learned an acronym, so I'm good there. I know many of you have been in this profession for a while, and then there are many of you who are probably brand spanking new. So it is a very, very complex and interesting and exciting profession. And there are challenges, but you certainly do have the resources. I think that we have a wonderful team here at CSU to lean on for support in this hectic field. So we'll go to the next one and do our pop quiz.
Who qualifies as a research admin? Select all that apply.
Talked a lot about this one.
This is the softball. Everyone, don't put on this one. The next few aren't that hard either. This is session 1. And I won't have pop quizzes in every single session. Yes, all of those apply. It didn't show it on the page?
Nope.
Nope.
It should have said that you got, after you submit your answer, it shows all the correct ones that you got them all. If you selected all of them, and it looks like across the board, most of it did. RPM got the lowest score with 32%. But yes, a research admin can be any of those titles. It's a hat that you might have to wear, but not an official title that you have. Okay, let's do this one. On which OSP webpage would I find an NCE request form? Oh, I threw an acronym in. Ashley, what's an NCE?
No cost extension. I knew that one.
Oh, Ronnie.
Ronnie is on it.
Jumped on it. Oh, that was great. So what I probably find on my guidance page, quali page. Oh yeah, there's a special page for like quali quick guides and access to the quali links. Forms page, or would I go to the library? 47 people have submitted answers. And I'm closing poll in 3, 2, 1. It is the forms page. Okay, last one. What does VPR stand for? Vermont Public Radio, Very Public Relations, or the Vice President for Research? 49. Can we get one more person? Get up. Yes, 51. Okay, closing. Closing in 3, 2, 1. Vice President for Research. You guys all got it. I hope you're feeling confident now that you've got 100% on your pop quiz for the day. Please feel free to unmute if you have other questions. Or put them in the chat. I would like to know one.
For those who were super excited about learning more acronyms, I put the direct link to our acronym list that gives you research admin acronyms and CSU specific acronyms.
That was one of my hardest parts when I switched campuses and joined CSU, because acronyms are different for different institutions. At the end of, on the website, you can also find the slide deck for the people that love to look at slides again later. And that's where you can find links. You can find more acronym tools. All the things that we use today, all the acronyms hopefully are covered in there, or other links that we've referenced. Special thanks to our presenters. Can I get a round of applause? Those virtual clap hands for Ashley and Dwayne. Thank you for being here with us today. And then also on behalf of the OSP Training and Professional Development Committee that helped put these sessions together, thank you. Thank you for all of your support and help. We will see you next Tuesday.
Thank you all for coming.